Hey guys, and welcome to a new video. Today I want to talk about Last Epoch, specifically my kind of game review slash overview after putting in about 100 hours into the game. So if you're looking for an awesome action RPG like Diablo, Path of Exile, Torchlight and more, this might be the game for you. Last Epoch is published from 11th Hour Games and is the perfect middle ground of a simple and easy to pick up ARPG, but offers a complex and in-depth character customization and build variety along the way. Today I want to talk about the base classes of Last Epoch, the build diversity and skill customization, the campaign and endgame systems, gearing and crafting, trading options and solo self-found, loot filter, and of course my personal conclusion about the game. To start things off, let's talk about the different characters that are available to play. There is a selection of 5 base classes that have 3 different masteries built in. You can pick between the Sentinel, the Rogue, the Mage, the Acolyte, and the Primalist. As an example, picking the Mage as your base character lets you specialize in either the Sorcerer, the Spellblade, or the Rune Master, while each of the individual masteries have their own special ability. For the Sorcerer, it would be Meteor, the Spellblade unlocks Shadow Strike, and the Rune Master has Runic Invocation as their mastery ability. Since all 3 masteries are based on the Mage base class, you can combine all Mage skills with your mastery and furthermore pick talents of different masteries to a certain degree, giving you tons of build options and variety fighting your way through time. Not only does Last Epoch offer a ton of different skills for every character and mastery, each skill has its own skill tree. Once you level up, you will unlock up to 5 skill slots where you can put in any skill of your choice to furthermore level it and add skill points to its tree. Once you add skill points to your base class and allocate points into your mastery, you unlock even more skills. As of right now, I'm playing the Rune Master with Lightning Blast as its main skill. This chain lightning-like skill can be empowered with a unique skill tree, giving you tons of options to modify this skill. You can add additional chains, convert its base damage source, or even apply explosive spark charges onto enemies and much more. The campaign itself is straightforward with 9 different chapters. There are lots of quests and side quests that offer additional skill points and idle slots for your character. I'd say the campaign is relatively easy, which means you can jump right into it with a build of your choice and you won't be stuck because you are inexperienced or play a suboptimal build. The fun part is to have a build idea and progress your character along the way. I've tried out many different characters already and never had an issue completing the campaign, even though the last 2 chapters are quite rough to say the least. There is no death penalty such as losing experience or progression, so dying doesn't feel as punishing as in other games. Later on, when you're progressing the Monolith of Fate, you will lose the Echo reward upon death as an example, or lose your entire character if you decide to play this game in hardcore. But what is the Monolith of Fate even? Let's talk about the endgame in Last Epoch. Once you completed the campaign, and even earlier if you wish to skip parts of it, you have to fight your way through the different timelines. Each of these timelines offer a web of echoes that can be completed for additional rewards. Each timeline has its own unique boss and specific item nodes that allows you to target farm items for your character. Once you defeat the timeline boss, you can pick between a variety of blessings that are permanent power-ups for your character. You can repeat those timelines as often as you want to farm the best blessings for your build. Once you made your way through the Monolith of Fate, you can unlock empowered versions of the different timelines, making the game substantially harder but also more rewarding. But not only that, the end game in Last Epoch has an endless scaling component called Corruption. Defeating special bosses within the timeline adds Corruption, which increases the monster modifiers but also the rewards. As Corruption scales infinitely, you will always feel the urge to upgrade your character to push Corruption. The Monolith of Fate is only one part of Last Epoch's endgame, as there is more game modes to discover such as dungeons, endless arenas and more. So what about the gearing system? Last Epoch offers a wide variety of items and crafting options. There are common, magic, rare, exalted, unique, legendary and set items in the game. While you can craft rare items up to 4 affixes which can vary between tier 1 to tier 5, there are drop exclusive exalted items that can have item modifiers up to tier 7. So gearing your character is easy in one hand, as crafting is very deterministic with some RNG involved, but getting the best items in the game will be a lot of grinding and effort put into each individual item. Finding the best item base with a perfect tier 7 modifier for your build, sometimes even double exalted modifiers, to then finish the item off with the crafting system fulfills all my checkboxes in terms of gear customization. Unique items can drop with legendary potential, up to 4. These uniques can then furthermore be merged with exalted items to craft even stronger uniques called legendaries. The crafting in Last Epoch is very unique and in my opinion one of the best crafting systems any ARPG has to offer. Every item can be shattered into affix fragments which can also be found while defeating monsters. These fragments are then used to craft the specific stat you want onto the item of your choice. That also means that magic or rare items can be useful, as they can have modifiers that you want to shatter to obtain the specific fragments for crafting your endgame items. There is a variety of glyphs and runes that can change the outcome of your craft, making it deterministic in one hand, but also RNG infused, as the crafting outcome cannot always be what you would have hoped for. Items drop with forging potential, a stat that determines how much and how often you can use crafting options. Once your item reaches 0 forging potential, you can no longer craft on this item. Each craft can reduce the forging potential based on the glyphs you're using, sometimes randomly upgrading other modifiers or not using forging potential at all. It is a complex system at first sight, but absolutely makes sense once you get used to it and understand how to manipulate affixes for your item. The golden rule remains: craft early and craft often. Last Epoch offers two different game modes for endgame. You can either choose to become a part of the Merchants Guild that lets you trade with other players and being able to use an auction house-like platform for trading itself. The Circle of Fortune is your solo self-on fraction that gives you many benefits while playing solo or in a group, such as increased item drop rates, prophecies to target farm items, and much more. You can switch between the fractions, but items are marked with the fraction icon to prevent farming in empowered solo self-on to then swap and sell the craziest items you found on the trading platform. Furthermore, you have to farm reputation to unlock trading or perks of the Circle of Fortune, which also prevents botting. It is a very nice system that will be improved as time goes on, but I'd love to see things like that in other ARPGs. I personally play with the Circle of Fortune option, as I really enjoy farming items for my character with a solo self-on approach. Both fractions have their pros and cons, and it's up to you which style you prefer. Another great thing in Last Epoch is its built-in loot filter. You can either create your own loot filter or download loot filters for your build on the Last Epoch community websites. If you're following a build guide, for example from Maxroll or other websites, it's highly likely that the author of the build guide attaches a downloadable loot filter for the specific build you're following. As you're getting more experience in the game, I highly recommend trying to set up your own loot filter. It is pretty straightforward, and as items drop identified, you can filter for specific modifiers you need. As an example, I'm playing an intelligence stacking room master, so I want to see items on the ground that have good bases and high amounts of intelligence to start off, while hiding every other item that has modifiers I don't need. It's all about game knowledge, knowing what you're looking for on items and then adapt your loot filter. I did download some base loot filters myself for my earlier characters, but as I got into the game, I started to create my own filters. Let's end this video with my personal conclusion about the game. Last Epoch brings fresh ideas into the ARPG scene, and while it's easy to pick up, it has complex and in-depth systems as you move to endgame, and try to make the perfect character to push your own limits. There are tons of builds that you can play, and personally I'd love to try 1 or 2 builds per day, because every time I stumble upon build videos of other content creators, I want to try them. I'd say it's the perfect middle ground if Diablo 4 is too easy and Path of Exile needs you to study a couple of years at a university to understand the basics of the game. I would give it a solid 7 out of 10 rating, which is incredible as the game just released and hopefully will not disappoint in upcoming patches and cycle releases. That's it for this video. I hope you enjoyed it and I could deliver the right amount of information you need to decide if Last Epoch is worth your time or not.